My name is Tarek Elnaggar. I'm the Senior Vice President for KONE, heading major projects globally. My main responsibilities are to lead, direct, and develop the major projects business in KONE globally to achieve our set short and long-term strategic objectives. Major projects is a business in KONE where we basically handle or work with the most demanding projects. So tall buildings, high-rises, infrastructure projects such as metros, airports. We also work with the marine industry, so we work on the cruise ships, for example, where we provide elevators and escalators on those. We also work with special projects like universities, hospitals. The medical segment is also growing at a pretty big pace. One of the most memorable projects that I've worked on in my career has been the Royal Clock Tower in Saudi Arabia, which is today considered the second tallest tower in the world. That entire building complex can carry 70,000 people, and we need to optimize the people flow solutions in that building to ensure that we can evacuate the building 5 times a day to enable praying. And they need to pray 5 times a day, and that's one of the reasons why they need to flow out and flow in a very smooth manner. Well, for me personally, I get to meet a lot of people all over the world from our organization, from our customers as well, dealing with different cultures, understanding how to work in different cultures, to me is quite intriguing. I enjoy that challenge in terms of understanding how to meet customers' expectations and even exceed them. Most challenging part of my job is probably managing and leading virtual teams. Having people based in China, having people based in Europe, having people based in the US does create somewhat of a challenge when you're trying to arrange for meetings and have everyone on board, or you're basically more or less working almost 24/7. Well, good leadership skills, understanding the big picture, good communication skills, having the engineering background is a plus. We work a lot with engineering, especially in major projects. Big part of our business is around engineering and about the new innovative products that we are actually releasing. We work a lot with R&D as well. We work with our different factories that produce different components that go into our elevator offering. So I think it's a plus to have the engineering background. Also, having the sales skills is another advantage that I see would help dealing with customers, dealing with our people in different markets. They could work in any field in our company. Our company is a multinational company, and they can work in finance, they can work in IT, they can work in engineering, they can work in management, they can work in the factory. I mean, there are many opportunities. They can work in R&D. It just depends where their preferences are, or where their skills and where they feel most comfortable with. But what I would recommend in terms of giving them a better opportunity, or how they would stand out against the rest of the crowd, is probably focus more on a particular subject related to our industry. They could either do it as a project or do it as their thesis, but do something that would engage them, that would help them learn a lot more about our business. They could even join one of our programs. We have this international trainee program. So a lot of these are different ways into trying to get your foot into the door with an organization like ours. I studied mechanical engineering at the American University in Cairo, Egypt. And then I pursued my postgraduate studies in the US afterwards, again in mechanical engineering. And I took on a summer job for a few months with a small startup company, and I ended up working there for 5 years, and then I joined KONE, and I moved from New York to Finland, and I've been with KONE now almost 20 years. Buildings will never stop growing. Not only are they growing bigger, but they're growing taller to accommodate the ever-increasing urbanization that is taking place in the world today. So our industry is growing at such a rapid pace, and we have so much more to offer to our industries. I looked up to Jack Welch at the time, who was the CEO at GE, and parts of my studies were actually focused in that direction, studying nuclear power plant design and so on. But then I also look up to Steve Jobs, and I see what he did with Apple, taking Apple from a small company, a startup company in a garage, to where Apple is today. I also look up to our own leader, Matti Alahuta. I also look up to our leadership team in KONE. Well, students could have mentors either from different industries that they're interested in, people that they might know or that they might not know. They can also approach some of their professors. Usually it's confusing for students when you're studying. I mean, it's sometimes difficult to make up your mind in terms of what you want to study. And then when you decide what you want to study, it's even sometimes more difficult to decide what company you want to work for, afterwards. So having a mentor would probably narrow down your options, would help you focus more into the direction that your best skill abilities would give you the best results in terms of career growth. I think it's great to have a mentor. Yes, I did have a mentor, Ari Lehtoranta, in our organization, who used to head major projects before me, is my mentor, and I think it helps a lot in terms of realizing where you can make improvements by learning from more experienced people who can share their findings and their challenges that they went through. Well, as you know, our industry is driven by 4 mega trends, urbanization, demographic changes, safety, and the environment. For us, one of the most exciting trends has been the ever-growing need for taller buildings. So as the urbanization is growing at a pretty strong pace, the United Nations, for example, has estimated that between the years 2010 and 2030 alone, there will be 1.4 billion people, moving into urbanized areas. And mainly, the majority of those people, about 1.2 billion, would be in emerging markets, countries like China, India, while only about 115 million will be moving into urbanized cities, which are from the developed countries. China is the largest market by far as compared to any other market, but in Asia in general has so much growth. Asia and the Middle East are probably the largest and strongest growing markets globally. So if you want to be number one in the world, you've got to maintain a very, very strong leadership position in that market. The construction industry is huge, and as I mentioned, with urbanization and with cities growing at the pace that they are growing at today, the growth in this industry will not stop. And elevators and escalators and automatic doors will play a big role in this development. So it's always smart to try to find a platform that you can get onto which would continue to grow and thrive. And that's what the construction industry is actually doing.